you and your family when you were younger, back in the 80s or before, where everyone had a nice thin frame, everybody, had strong cores, they all, looked very healthy. And then gradually by the 90s, if you come forward, you'll notice more people were becoming heavier, more people were becoming less healthy, more people were being diagnosed with different chronic illnesses, hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, etc. Right? Where if you had a person that, say, you knew a person that had eczema, it was an anomaly. It was the only person that you would come across in like all of your days that had eczema. You didn't even know what psoriasis was because it didn't exist as far as we knew. Things like that. Diabetes. Diabetes was that thing where only like the older people might have had, and they called it the sugar. You see what I'm saying? And, just saying, when before the 90s, people were much more healthy. And I think that during the 80s was when they started changing the food supplies and genetically modifying more and more and more and more into our daily diets, into our health regimes, as far even with the chemicals that we use, let's say our lotion, our shampoo and conditioner. For those of us who have textured hair, relaxers, things like that. Why is it that there are, even when it comes down to hair dye, there are hair dyes, predominantly pushed towards whites, and then you have other kinds that's predominantly pushed towards blacks. Why is that? What makes the cuticles of the hair so different that you can't use a Miss Clairol if you're an African American, or it's not normal for you to use a Miss Clairol because you're more of the dark and lovely? Is it because your hair isn't as oily as theirs? Or is it because it's softer? Or, what is it? And I'm not trying to come up with any conspiracies. I'm just asking, how many people other than me have these questions? So with me questioning so many things, that go on around us, so many differences with us. I grew up in New York and New Jersey, where you walk down the street, there were fruit stands. All, like you can pass 7 or 8 fruit stands in 10 minutes. And everything was fresh. You can grab an apple, run in, pay for it, 25 cents or whatever, pay for it, and you can eat it. And it was good. Now you have to go to the grocery store and hope and pray that whatever you get isn't so mealy and processed that it actually tastes like the fruit. So these are things that have changed with us as a country. So when we're looking at fatty liver basically is one of the side effects of the adjusting to today's living. Because let's look at it. Let's start at the top. What is the liver? The liver is an organ. Okay. The liver helps in your digestive system. It filters toxins, processes fat, and regulates vitamins and nutritional consumption or absorption into the body. Okay. So what happens when you overload it with toxins? Again, we're looking at our health and beauty products. We're looking at the environment with all of the air quality. We're looking at poor diets. We're looking at the genetically modified foods. We're looking at all of that because guess what? All of that plays a part because remember, it filters toxins. Toxins come from so many different places that it's easy to overload a liver. It's very easy. And when it's trying to process fat, if you're eating high fat foods like going to McDonald's or having fried wings or fried pork chops or fried anything, that's high in cholesterol. That's high in fat. And it's very difficult for your liver to process it when it's coming through that much and at that greater consistency. Okay. For case in point, I am a phlebotomist. I used to work for the Red Cross and I did blood banking. I worked for a couple of different blood banks. But, one thing we would always do was, when we were pulling blood, we would do something called apheresis, where you split the components of the blood. The red blood cells go in one direction, the white go in another direction, and the plasma go in another direction. Okay. Then you take those separated components and you send them out for them to be used accordingly. Well, one thing that we always had to pay attention to was what it looked like when it was coming into the collection bags, because we could tell you what whether or not you've had a high fat diet in the past 24 hours, because it would come through and it would look like melted butter. Some people would have so much in their system because their eating habits are so hard. Well, I'm not going to say horrible. Their eating habits are so poor or unhealthy that it would actually physically shut down the machine because it was just too thick to pull out and to separate from the other two components. You could not get it into the machine. So imagine if an automated machine is having problems separating your blood because of the amount of fat that you have in your system. Imagine how your internal organs are working. You see where I'm going with how it all kind of connects here and there, to make one big picture. If your liver is dealing with that, let's just say that part, and it's already trying to pull the fat and get the fat out of your system. Okay. When you go to the bathroom, I know this is going to be really personal, but when you go to the bathroom, I know the majority of people turn around and look in the toilet before they flush, which is a good idea. Because if you look in the toilet and it looks oily, you have way too much fat in your system. Way too much. Because it's pushing it out any way it can. Your body is a machine. If it does not have the proper consistencies of everything moving in the body, it's going to exhibit it one way or the other. And that is one way to tell whether or not you have way too much oil in your system, because it will come out in the toilet. Now, taking that, a struggling liver trying to push out all of that fat, add external toxins. You're on the highway going back and forth to work. You might not have your windows open, but guess what? You have vents in your car to let in fresh air. That fresh air is pulling in all of those environmental toxins and what they call free radicals. It's not just going into your skin. It's going into your lungs and into your mouth and into any orifice that you have inside on your body. And it's going in, and now your liver and your other organs have to deal with that adjustment. So let's think of it like this. You have a backpack, you add the fat. Okay, let's say the fat takes up half the backpack, right? Then you add the toxins from just the environment. Okay, that takes up a couple of the pockets on the outside of the backpack. Add going out and drinking alcohol, or even being at home drinking alcohol. Some people have a drink every day. Some people have a drink every weekend. Some people get blasted on the weekends from Friday to Sunday. They're completely tossed. Okay. Some people only drink once in a while. But if you're drinking alcohol, guess what? That's another toxin. It's taxing your liver. So add that to that backpack. Now we're above half the mark, right? Now you've got the poor diet and you've got the toxins. We're only working with the toxins in that. Now let's add stress. You're in that car on the highway trying to get to work, in traffic. Somebody's cutting you off. You're listening to the news on the radio. They're telling you all of the bad news and everything that happened last night or while you were asleep. And now you're stressed out about that because you were already stressed out because you woke up a few minutes late and you had other things you had to do before you got out the door, i.e. drop the kids off to school. Your kids didn't want to get dressed. Your kids running around the house not listening to you. So now you're yelling at them before you even hit the traffic. So your stress level's already high. So we're going to add that into the backpack as well. Okay. Now, when you add that, now let's go to adrenal stress, the adrenaline. The stress is what? Triggering the adrenaline. So now you're pushing that. Your glands are now like, okay, fight or flight at all times. We got to be ready to run. We got to be ready to fight. We got to be ready to, you see what I'm saying? Throw in a bad relationship. It doesn't have to be with your spouse. It could be with your sister. It could be with your brother. It could be with someone at work. It could be your next door neighbor. Throw that in there. That's more in the backpack. Now your backpack is pretty much full, right? You can't really even get the top down, but we got some more stuff to add to it. Okay. We're going to add viruses. You're touching things. You're shaking hands with people. You're putting gas in your gas tank, touching the nozzle. You're walking in and out of stores, touching the doorknobs. You're in the gas station. You want to grab a water. You open up the ice, container to get the ice box to get the water. That's another thing that you're touching. You're touching money. And if you're not touching money, you're touching your credit cards. And you're handing your credit card to other people because they're swiping it and they're handing it back to you. And heaven knows what they've been touching. So now you've got bacteria, you've got viruses, you got all kinds of stuff going on. Now your backpack is bulging at the seams. It's actually overflowing at this point. That's your liver. That's your liver trying to function at a capacity to keep you healthy and moving forward. So eventually, when it starts to bubble over out of that book bag, i.e., the liver, it's causing other problems. It's causing things like autoimmune disease, insomnia, hot flashes. Ladies dealing with the hot flashes, it's causing hot flashes. It's causing the weight gain. It's causing your skin to break out. It's causing diabetes, eczema, psoriasis, all of which are autoimmune. Not many people know. All of that is autoimmune. Okay? So if it's causing these problems in the overflow, you see what I'm saying? You see where we're going? It's just too much on the body. And now you're dealing with these situations, these things that, it's creeped up on you because, of course, when you go to the doctor's not going to tell you because the doctor can't make money if you're healthy. I'm sorry for all of the medical professions, but I'm just going to call it what it is. If you're healthy, it's just like an insurance company. An insurance company, yeah, they make money off of you every month because you're paying that insurance, but they're waiting for you to have an accident. They're waiting for your house to burn down. They're waiting for anything so that they can raise the premium and get more money. If you're only going to the doctor for wellness visits because you're healthy and your immune system is working well and your liver is functioning properly, they're not making the money that they want because they can't push the medications on you, i.e., which is another thing that causes problems in the liver when you're taking medications. That's another thing that goes in that book bag because it can't fight off that stuff. That number one is a synthetic. It wasn't naturally made. If it's not naturally made, how is your body supposed to, the body which is naturally made, how is it supposed to function with it? That's like putting water in a gas tank. You might pull off, but you ain't going far because it's got to be corrected. You got to clean that out and put in the real stuff. Okay? Just like oil in oil and water. Don't mix. Neither do synthetics and naturals. You should always be mindful of everything that's going on, especially when a doctor is pushing medication. Because a lot of times, they're doing what they're told to do. which is make that quota, because the insurance company wants their money. And the only way the insurance company is going to make money is if you are sick. So let's start to kind of put that together.